welcome back to SpaceOil guitars and my build for the GGBO22. Apologize if my last video was just a mess. There's a lot of back and forth in my building process where I do one thing where glue is drying for another thing, etc. So apologize for that. And where we left off in the last video, I'd made this headstock with the layering veneers, cascading layers of veneers. I still have some cleanup to do on that, but I'm going to do the back side now. I was supposed to start that yesterday, but couldn't be bothered really. It was late. And so what I have here is a cutout of the head shape. So I'm going to mark that up, and I'm going to try to find I'm going to try to have the fibers running with the headstock shape. It doesn't matter anything for anything other than looks, really. But maybe this way? Yeah, I'm thinking maybe this way. And let's see. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight, just straight enough. There's a top coat of plastic on this as well as a bottom coat, but I don't want to remove that before I have it on. So I'm just going to leave it, even though it makes the marking a little bit more difficult. So I'm just quickly marking this with a yellow pencil. As you can see, it's breaking. It's a wax stick, really, it's not a pencil. And then I'm going to cut this out and get ready to glue it on the back of the headstock. Okay, so that's roughly cut to shape, very roughly. But I wanna, it's hard to sort of cut curves in it, you sort of have to sand that. So I'm just gonna line it up, glue it on, and then take it down to the edge. But what I'm going to do first is to make these tuner holes come out the other side. Now I haven't really decided what I want to do for that yet. Maybe drill them, but then if I drill too hard, I don't want chipping, you know. So I'm thinking maybe I'll use the Dremel for that. Perhaps. Okay, so I think I'm going to drill a tiny hole through, just enough so I can get this bit through. This is a ball bearing Dremel routing, flush cut router bit. This base though has to be squared. It's not that good. It's not the proper one. This is a cheap knockoff, unfortunately. And I mean, the Dremel is a proper Dremel, but the router base is not. And it's pretty square now. go. Maybe a little more. Yeah, so that's square. So I'm going to drill a small hole, or maybe I'll just countersink it from the other side. That'll be easier, right? I'm going to use a brad point to drill through. Maybe I should put something underneath. I think I will. This. That went well. So at least I know I can get the hole without chipping. Oh, my music just went off. So what do you listen to when you're building guitars? Usually when I don't have to do a lot of talking, I like to do audiobooks. And I'm into fantasy books, but now that I have to do some talking, I'm listening to Transatlantic. Let's see, this is probably too big. 11, yeah. Should I try this? It's too big though. I have to widen the holes. So I'll try with this countersink. This may be a huge mistake. This countersink isn't the best. Now there are going to be, bushings around the tuner, so some of that you can hide. Obviously I'd rather it not have to hide, but you never really know. So let's see. Kind of anxious about this. This took a long time. Maybe I'll just file it out. Should work. That'll take too long. I fear the edges won't be as neat. Maybe what if I use these bad boys? These sanding bits for the Dremel, if I could find one. As you can see, I'm pretty organized, and that's why I don't have trouble finding anything in my shop ever. But you know, one of these bad boys, but I think maybe this is the one I should use. No. That's definitely too big. Alright. This is actually a perfect fit, but I think I'll have to hand hold that. I don't know how good that'll be. What if I try putting that on a drill? I'll use my Milwaukee for that. It's a slower pace. I think like 10,000 RPM might be asking too much. So I want to just clean up the holes with this. Then I'm going to turn this bit around. Because this has a little edge to it, so it'll sort of it'll center itself. So I put it through this way, and then sort of pull it through. I hope that'll work. Doesn't feel like it's eating away at the wood at all. But actually, the idea isn't bad, it's just that the execution, I wish I had a reverse tapered bit. You know, a bit that you could pull instead of push. Maybe I'll have to do the routing. Okay, we're going to go with the routing, not spend any more time on this. So I'm going to clamp the neck down. Doesn't have to be super secure, just has to be secure enough. So here we go. I'm going to move the camera a little closer so that maybe you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Let's see. Okay. The idea here, so I turn this on and just follow the hole. Of course, I have to plug it in first. So who's working on wireless power? And how's that going? Sorry about this wire. Okay, here goes nothing. I'll take down the rotations a bit. Pretty clean. Oh, I'm so glad that worked out. I was really nervous about doing this. Whew. All right, so now I'm going to sand the back of the headstock, just 240 I think. And then I'm going to do the same with the gluing side of the carbon fiber. Obviously tear the plastic away, rub it down a little bit, glue these together, and then that'll be left to set for a while. So, but I think that'll look cool. I like the look of carbon fiber. As I said, I'm very inspired of the look of the 1990s Ken Parker electric guitars, and they used a lot of carbon fiber. I think it looks good if you use it in the right way. I'm not able to make a neck out of it like he did, but should be good either way. All right, so I had to sand this part because that's going to be hard to do after. Also, it works as a template for where I'm going to sand by hand. So just trying to place that. So that'll be fine. And I think I'm going to try to glue this with epoxy. And I use these small cups. They have like measurements on them, and I'm using very small quantities. So let's see. Okay, I'll have to use my gloves, but can you see this cup? Yeah. For these small quantities, weighing it is almost impossible. It's 1 to 5, so this is definitely childproof. Okay, so that is like 10 grams, and that's way too much. But I'm gonna have to use 2 grams of hardener for this. Okay, so there we go. Get that last drop out. Then mix it well. And with resin, just mix and mix and mix. You cannot over mix resin, right? So I'm going to get a clean stick, mix this. There we go. And this is the same resin that I use on the bodies. But obviously this is going to be used for gluing now. So make sure your surfaces are clean. I just sanded mine, matted down the back side of the carbon fiber, cleaned it off with some thinner, wiped that off. And this is about the amount I would use for an entire guitar body, so it's pretty hard to get small enough amounts of it. And I just use paper to apply it. So I'm going to take my gloves off. Unfortunately, I don't have any more single-use gloves here think. Usually this is a typical make sure to use gloves operation. And just get a little bit on and go outside of the area you want to glue, because this can be wiped off. And obviously the neck hasn't been carved yet, so it's quite sticky, so you don't have to worry about it running too much. But obviously if you put too much on, it will run. So just gonna get a nice layer on here. Be sure to get the squeeze out afterwards. Be sure to get it all the way out to the edges. And you have good working time with this. I mean, it takes 24 hours to sort of harden, and by that time, if you haven't managed to get wherever you're gluing by then, you're out of luck, I guess. But that shouldn't be a problem in this case. And since we're already on it, I'm gonna do the sides here as well, because this will get covered in resin anyway. And it doesn't hurt to get the glue edges of your veneer, hit that up with some epoxy. So we'll put that aside and just make sure a second time that I wipe off the carbon fiber. So that it's dust free, and line it up